I used to get extremely anxious when approaching new people. I'd assume that the person would just find me a burden and that the conversation would go badly. Now, I get anxious when I don't say hi. And today, I'm going to show you everything I learned over the past 2 years on how I was able to make talking to strangers fun, while also making my day-to-day happier and destroying any chances of me being lonely. And it all starts with one simple reframe that made approaching much less daunting. Almost everyone, me included, tries to feel calm before they approach. We rehearse lines, we go through countless mental simulations, we wait until our hearts stop racing and the butterflies in our stomachs die down. But what I found out is, you're not supposed to feel calm before approach. I became calm after I went up and started talking. But something I kept wondering about is, why do I feel anxious and insecure in the first place? I'll be honest with you, this is only something I recently started working on, and I don't feel like I'm in the right place to share about it now. However, once I am ready, I'll make a continuation to this video discussing how I was able to overcome this insecurity. But what I can give you in this video is a practical stuff that I learned over the years on how to approach people despite this. However, before I get into any advice, let me take you back to the hallways of my school where I walked drowning with anxiety. It was snack time and I was making my way to the cafeteria. My heart was racing, sweat dripped from my armpits, and my eyes were darting around everywhere, making sure that no one was judging me. Around me, other students made their way to the cafeteria, and I was convinced they were judging me. Making fun of the way I walked, making fun of how I dressed that day, and even making fun of where I put my hands. On the outside, I looked confident as I held my head up high, had my chest out, and my back straight. But inside, I was completely disordered, panicked, and anxious. As I walked through the hallways, I passed by the science lab, which had a big glass panel that allowed other people to see me as I walked. Despite my anxiety like crazy, I felt like a spotlight was put on me. My feet started to speed up, each step being quicker than the last. Finally, I reached the cafeteria. At the cafeteria, there was this opening in the wall where you had to go through to enter it. People always hung out there, so anyone who wanted to enter the cafeteria had to pass through them. That moment always made thoughts flood in my head like a dam breaking open. Am I being weird? Are they talking about me? Do they even like me? I would look at them, and always I would see a serious expression on their face, making me feel like I was just being a burden on them. But my anxiety didn't stop there. It bled into my ability to connect with new people, making me feel like I couldn't get the things that I wanted in life. I was at the gym working out with my personal trainer, and at that time, I had a gym crush. That day, she was working out right beside us. Lucky for me, my personal trainer was talking to her. After a minute or two, she, my personal trainer, went up to get water and told me to talk to my gym crush. But I ended up getting anxious and didn't talk. I said I was just tired and didn't really feel like talking to her, but deep down, I knew I just overthought it. And this wasn't even the worst part. After the gym, when I went home, I was barraged with thoughts like, why didn't I talk to her? Did she think I was awkward by not talking to her? I'm 100% sure she thinks I'm weird and antisocial. I'm sure I screwed everything up. I really do so. More and more thoughts like those kept coming up, and every time I answered them, 3 more would just pop up. Sometime afterward, I journaled about my thoughts, my insecurities, and why I had these feelings in the first place. This stirred things up inside of me, and it made my self-esteem shoot up and down. For example, the days I journaled, I would feel no anxious thoughts and I would just be really light for the whole day. Whereas the day after that, I would feel really heavy again and start having all these insecure thoughts again and would still be stuck on things. But even on those bad days, I kept making friends and meeting new people. This led me to realize that you don't need to feel amazing before talking to new people. Even on days where you're feeling sad and insecure, you can still go up and make new friends. With all that in mind, I went back to the gym and I started approaching new people. I did the classic thing of coming up with an opening line based on a bunch of scenarios in my head. And once I had this line prepared, I would just go up to someone my age and just say it to them. And I was able to do this without a lot of stuttering and while looking somewhat confident. But afterwards, I would get extremely nervous because I didn't know what to say after the line. In these moments, I would feel so embarrassed. And even worse, I would feel less authentic, as I didn't say what I really wanted, but instead what I believed would make the other person like. However, there was just this one day where I decided to just fuck it, and I went without a line in my head. Once I started talking to the person, I stuttered a lot, but funnily enough, I was able to have one of the best conversations in a while. I was fully authentic, and we talked about gym, life, sports, whatever. We talked about a bunch of stuff. And to this day, he's still my friend and we still work out a lot. From this experience, I realized that it doesn't matter what opening line you use. What mattered more was if you were being authentic. So instead of using some line that you rehearsed 1,000 times in your head, just say the first honest and real thing that pops up in your head. Don't dismiss it, just say it. But what if you can't think of anything? What if your mind blanks and you just start panicking? I know this feeling all too well. And when it happens, what helps me most is directing my attention outwards. Focusing your attention outward means to stop overanalyzing yourself and instead focus on what the other person is saying, what they like, what they're into. When you keep your attention on yourself, you become increasingly more anxious, self-critical, insecure, which leads to your mind blanking. I remember that when I talked to people I knew, and to people I didn't know, I would always be overanalyzing everything I did. Thoughts like, where do I put my hands? How far apart should my feet be? Am I in a weird pose? Would take over my mind, and I would end up not even paying attention to the other person, which I think made me look like I didn't care about them, even though the opposite was true. That's why the advice of just be present never really helped. Every video I watched said it, but none of them were able to actually explain how to do it. But after struggling with it myself, I think I found a way to actually explain what they meant. I was able to direct my attention outwards by catching myself getting lost in my anxious and self-critical thoughts and redirecting my attention to the present moment. You can literally do this right now. Focus your attention on the video, and when you notice yourself getting distracted by a thought, redirect your focus back to this video. Repeat this process whenever you can to practice doing it. A great way to practice this skill is by meditating. To meditate, you basically do the exact same thing that I said before, just now focusing on your breath. And this is the exact same skill you use in a conversation. When you get in your head about your body movement, your voice, whatever it may be, you direct your attention back towards a conversation. The reason I'm telling you this is because once I started practicing my presence, I didn't even need to start forcibly thinking of questions. My mind automatically generated questions as the other person talked. So now I know how to go up and talk to people. But how do you make that fun? What I found is that to make the conversation fun, you need to learn to detach yourself from other people's validation. This is actually one of the deepest ideas I had, and it could honestly be a video on its own. But I'll still try to give you some advice. But what always helped me is realizing that you, as you are right now, are worthy of love, connection, relationships, and you don't need to put on a mask to meet new people. When you lose the need for validation from other people, interactions become fun. You start being yourself, making jokes you actually want to make, start sharing your real opinions, and just letting the conversation flow naturally. But detaching yourself from validation also takes time. So what should you do while still learning to stop caring about other people's opinions? What I did was, whenever I felt hesitant to say what I want to, I would remind myself about the risk I'm taking by not speaking. If you stay quiet, you're taking a risk. You're losing the potential friendship or conversation just to make sure you don't say something the other person might not like. Whereas if you do talk, you take the risk of saying what you actually wanted to say. And maybe because of that, the person you're talking to doesn't become your friend. And honestly, I would rather talk and maybe make a new friend than stay quiet and guarantee I lose. As for detaching yourself from the validation of other people, what helped me a lot was journaling. I journaled about why I thought other people didn't like talking to me and about what scared me when talking to people. And those answers served as a base for overcoming this issue. I've gone over what I consider crucial when it comes to talking and approaching to new people. But you may have some specific questions that I didn't think needed a full breakdown. So to address some of them, I'll go over 2 recurring questions that I wish I had answers to before. 1. How do I turn strangers into friends? What I found is that you become friends with this person when you constantly see each other over time. Also, you don't have complete control over who becomes your friend. It's something that has to be reciprocated from both sides. So I show you everything that took me from being anxious when talking to people to being anxious when I don't say hi. You know, once I started this journey of improving my social skills, self-esteem, and mental health to an extent, my day-to-day happiness just skyrocketed. I went from waking up subconsciously anxious about something I didn't even know I was worrying about, paired with anxious thoughts about what people thought of me and my social life hitting me first thing in the morning, to simply being happy and present in the moment. And now, I have more friends than ever. I have my best friends that I've known for over 10 years. I have friends that live in the same condominium as me, of whom I play basketball and football with. I have friends in my gym that I work out with. And I imagine that when I go to uni soon, I'll make lifelong friends there as well. When talking to strangers became something fun and light, I felt that a lot changed in my life. Not only in the social aspect, but also in improving my confidence and helping me adopt a positive demeanor about my life in general. To be honest, I think you're in a way better situation than me when I first started out, as you literally have everything that I learned through hardships and through pushing myself to beyond my limits throughout these years. And if I could end this video with one important thing, it'd be that the anxious thoughts that you get that question your worth, that degrade you because you didn't go talk to someone, or that you chickened out when talking to someone, or even maybe because you did go and talk to someone but that person didn't like you. I want you to know that these thoughts are all lies. You are enough the way you are now. You are not any less worthy of a positive relationship or of anything in life in that manner than anyone else. I don't want you to treat this as just another wishy-washy positive affirmation. For at least 5 minutes, grab a piece of paper or some book or literally anywhere where you can write stuff on and journal about reasons why you're worthy. Remember this when you're beating yourself up for not having talked to someone, when you're overthinking a bad conversation and doubting your social skills, or simply when you just feel lost in your social journey. One day, You'll be able to see someone you want to talk to, and no matter who they are, you will. Hold on to this.